All right, so we're all here, call to order the planning board meeting for February 28, 2024. Roll call attendance, please.
Doug Brewer here.
Tom Callahan here.
Amy Glassmeyer here.
Kevin Hine here.
Deirdre Hobson here.
Great, we're also joined by our town planner Cassandra Thayer and town council Carolyn Murray. And we will jump right into things. I believe our first item is 159 Atlantic. Charlie Higginson's property, is it? Who is Caroline Reese?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Hi.
Hi. Good evening. For the record, my name is Caroline Reese. I am representing Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors on behalf of Brendan Sullivan, presenting an A&R plan for homeowners Charles and Ginevra Higginson of 159 Atlantic Avenue. And I believe the homeowners may be on the phone if they raise their hand. I believe they'd like to be promoted. Would you like to share the screen for the plan, or would you like to pull it up? Or
you can share the screen. Also, it does look like Brendan has joined us as well, just so you know, Caroline.
oh, fantastic. He may want to jump in, or I can share the screen for him. And fantastic.
Brendan, you look like you're in your furnace room. Jeez.
I'm on a train on the way to Florida, so
Oh, okay.
sorry for the
You're on a train?
confines.
It doesn't look like it.
I
I've
know.
done that.
Almost
I've-
equivalent, probably the same size, right?
just about, yeah. It's a little
done that
tight in
trip.
here, but it works. So if it does get a little choppy, that's why I have Caroline on the phone. But
There we go.
the connection is good so far. So Caroline, if you could share the screen, that'd be great.
Sure, I'm working
this
on
is
that.
a follow-up from our last meet.
Can everyone see?
So this
Yeah.
is a
Yeah, we can see, Brendan, you're breaking up more than Caroline is, so maybe Caroline should present this. But it's not changed from what we saw the last time, correct?
Okay. Well, I guess maybe
no, it is not.
Okay.
Oh, good, he's there.
Am I stable now, or is it still choppy?
Yeah, that's all right. Go ahead.
Okay, so the plan hasn't changed from before. I guess Mr. Higginson did have a conversation with you, Tom, I believe, stating about that section of the zoning does still apply because it doesn't affect the Form A as far as the zoning change from last November. Because
Right.
the
It
zoning.
just so everybody knows, the day after I got Carolyn's opinion, which I think everybody has seen, which Carolyn, I'll summarize it, correct me if I'm wrong, but A&Rs do not fall within the little ambit of an amendment to the bylaw. So as other permits were like a special permit or something, a subdivision, or well, not a special permit and things of that nature. So the old rule with this note 4, which has now been eliminated in the new bylaw, will still apply to this. And so Charlie happened to be visiting Merrill upstairs on the day after I got the letter, and I informed him of the opinion. He came down to say hello. And so I informed him of the opinion that day. So to me now, this is fairly straightforward. I don't know, Carolyn, if there's anything you want to add.
I just wanted to call up my opinion on that, because I think what I actually said was, you know, what the board typically thinks about the opening line of chapter 48, section 6, that talks about the moment a legal ad for public hearing on a zoning amendment is advertised for the first time, that zoning amendment applies to all building permits or special permits that are issued, subject. Even though town meeting may have not approved it yet, or even though the Attorney General might still refuse or disapprove that bylaw. But the statute doesn't have the same provision for an A&R plan. So an A&R plan is going to be subject to whatever the zoning is that is in effect the date that the plan is first filed. So we are kind of in this limbo at the moment where note 4 is pending. We'll have to see what ultimately happens with respect to the Attorney General's office, but I just wanted to make that distinction because I know it can be a little confusing.
Okay, thank you. The resulting lot is going to be less than what's required in RC. We make the notation that this is not a buildable lot. Carolyn? We do that with a lot of A&Rs we do, so.
Is that the intent? I'm sorry, I wasn't at your last meeting. So was the intent that one not be buildable?
That's not my understanding. I believe, the intent is, the provision in attachment 2.4, number 4, when you have 2 lots owned by, I can zoom in on it, by one property owner, and the,
Yeah,
the
it
lots over. Go ahead.
was the intent for it to be a buildable lot. That's the whole purpose of this.
Yes.
It falls under that, as Carolyn said, and we put a notation in the bottom of the zoning box there of the exact verbiage of that section of the notations at the bottom of the zoning table. Note 4B specifically, where a lot is greater than 120,000 square feet, you can carve off 20,000 square foot lots as long as the average of those lots is greater than 60. The existing lot has 125,000 square feet, so we're carving off a 25,000 square foot lot and a 100,000 square foot lot, so the average is greater than 60.
All right.
What you could do, Mr. Chair, if it gives the board some comfort, and I'm just looking at the notes to see if maybe it was already included on the plan. I can't see it on this view.
Yeah,
we can certainly
Caroline, if you could zoom in the bottom of that zoning table, it's right, it's down right, it's on the bottom of the zoning table, the verbiage.
Oh, no, I wasn't, thank you, Brian. I wasn't suggesting that. I was suggesting what the board could do is they could include in their signature block that the endorsement is not any sort of, is not to be construed as any sort of compliance with zoning, and just leave it at that. And then it'll ultimately be up to the building commissioner to determine at the time of the building.
They may
Yeah,
have that already.
I think that's on the plan already.
Scroll up to
Don't-
the,
Usually it's in
Signature block.
the zoning signature block.
Yep.
Um,
There you go.
Yeah,
I
All
see
right.
it. Thank you. Yep.
below the date.
Okay. Okay. This could be the last under 60,000 square foot lot developed in Cohasset in RC. All right. Anybody else on the board have any questions?
well, typically we make some kind of assessment about access and frontage.
What do we have?
Does
for
does
that?
the lot have frontage?
It does. It meets, I can scroll down, meets, as Brennan can say, the frontage, lot width, area requirements. I can read it to you, the
No, I
front
can see it.
lot. Okay.
I'm just asking the question because that's what we're supposed to do.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry.
And I can see that there's frontage on Lothrop Lane, a private way.
Correct.
And Lothrop isn't very wide, but I believe there's houses beyond this point,
Mhm.
further into Lothrop, so,
Doesn't it make a big loop?
yeah. Yeah, And it's
Yeah,
it's very
It does
narrow.
loop the end technically.
Yeah, I thought it dead ends.
And
Yeah,
so
mathematically, it does connect to Hobart, but there are a few houses beyond it, at least three, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, I think, beyond this lot.
so you have a access, yeah, I mean, you have the frontage and access from a private way in existence prior to zoning.
Yes,
And I think the only other thing that the planning board would, and maybe council can confirm this, whether it's of adequate width and construction. Whatever that language is. and-
Correct. Adequate width, suitable construction grades, et cetera, for vehicles to pass over.
What are the dimensions?
Of what? The
It-
area of the lot or?
No, of the private way.
it's a
variable.
it's a variable width. It varies between probably about 20 to 30, in some areas 40 feet wide. The pavement's probably between 12 and 14 feet width. It does have public sewer in it, public water and sewer.
Yeah.
And
It's a
drainage.
little better. It's a little better than Black Horse Lane we just recently dealt with, but it's, you know, it's an old road that was built in a different time to different standards.
But it still complies.
Yeah. Yeah, if we find it complies, and I think the existence of other houses already on it isn't going, one more house isn't gonna make a big difference. Now, if there was nothing at this point, you know, and this was gonna be the first house on this stretch, then maybe that would be an issue, but, we're dealing with a decades-old situation where there's multiple houses on what is now very old and narrow road.
Yeah, I think I looked up under the civil engineers guidelines where one house generates 1 peak hour trip by the calculation, by the tables. Brendan would know this. One single family house is a 1 peak hour trip generator.
Peak hour, that sounds about right, yeah. I don't know the exact numbers, but I mean, there's obviously more than 1 trip per house
Sure.
per day, but for peak hours, sure.
This particular diagram doesn't have any topographic features. What is the topography there? And are there issues that are discussable because there is some reason to do so, or is it simply a flat and very indifferent piece of roadway?
It's a fairly flat lot. We are showing the flood zones. It is accessible. There already is a gravel drive off of Lothrop Lane that runs approximately along the 5-foot wide passageway in the northern portion of the lot.
But the
No-
access isn't illusory. It's not a big piece of ledge between the access and the usable part of the lot, or it's not a big wetland. It's not a illusory access.
Correct. There is some wetlands there, but we can get access into there.
Yep.
Doesn't seem that there's necessary additional discussion then.
No, it's pretty much access, frontage. Whether it meets zoning or not is not really our thing.
Right. The issues of it being in the floodplain and wherever and what can get built there, be a different inquiry for a different time. All right,
So let's
I'll
call
keep-
for the question then.
yeah, I want to move along. Do I have a motion to endorse? And if there's any conditions, state what conditions you would add.
Motion to endorse as presented.
Second,
Okay, any further discussion? So I should ask, I presume there's no one out in the public who wants to be heard on this? Right, I see some hands, I'm sorry. There's Ms. Hornby and a Ms. Murphy. You could promote
Want me
them.
to pull them? Okay.
Yeah, I just.
Do you want me to do one at a time or both at once?
You can bring them both up and we'll see what they have to say. I might apologize that thank God I checked at the last minute, but. You could, all right, Ms. Murphy, your name's popping up first on the screen, so if you want to introduce yourself, name and address, and if you have a question, then please let us have it.
So the two individuals are indicating that they were not notified of this meeting. Is that a requisite for us in this discussion?
How
This
do
is
you?
not technically a public hearing, so there is no abutters notice required.
That doesn't impede the individuals from speaking, however, if they
No.
have concerns.
No. But that just answers the question as to why they were not notified.
Right, Ms. Murphy and Ms. Hornby, you're both muted. If you want to ask a question, please unmute and please do so.
Lucille, do you want to go first or do you want me to go? All right, I'll just go because I don't think she's unmuted yet. My
Yeah.
name is Laura Murphy. I live at 11 Hobart Lane. I am on this call because of a different issue on Hobart Lane. And I was surprised, to say the least, to see that this was something going in front of the board because I was never receiving any kind of announcement that this is something that my neighbor is considering. My property directly abuts this property. I actually have an easement through the property. Do you see that easement there? That's my easement. And I actually am trying to figure out, they're trying to carve out that L shape there to build on. You all say that there is no water on that property or very little. I actually have video footage of a lake in that property.
Right. Ms. Murphy, I'm going to cut you off there just because
Go ahead.
the approval, not the A&R approval not required process is a form of dividing two lots under Massachusetts law. It's
Yes.
very, very limited. It only says, can you divide a lot? Can you create two lots that have adequate frontage on an adequate access to it? Those are the only two inquiries. And again, we talked earlier about the endorsement that we're not saying anything else in this process about its compliance with zoning and its buildability.
Okay, understood.
The owners have expressed that they intend to try to build, but we've heard the word floodplain. Now you're saying actual water.
Yes.
This will still get subdivided subject to any easement rights that exist.
Okay.
And they're going to have to go through the process of getting a building permit. If they're in a floodplain, they're probably going to get a conservation and a zoning permit.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of things that go on, and that's where you would bring up these concerns with all due respect. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, sir. I really appreciate your saying that. I didn't quite understand that. Like I said, I had tuned in for another meeting and then this is what I saw. And given that I'm a direct abutter and never heard anything, I was quite surprised.
Yeah,
But,
and again, the A&R process is this quirky little thing in Massachusetts law, and it's not considered a quote unquote public hearing, so it doesn't require actual notice. The one for Hobart Lane that we're going to deal with is a public hearing, and we will read a public notice that was sent out. That's a different process than what this is.
I thought that our neighborhood required a 60,000 square foot minimum to subdivide.
Well, again, there is a quirk in our bylaw for residence C that allows them to do this, and you heard the discussion, as long as the average of what's results are 60,000 square foot lots, and the average of these two lots is still over 60,000 square feet. That quirk has been eliminated in the amendments we did to Article 4 of our bylaw in the fall, which we are awaiting approval of the Attorney General's office. But as our town council was explaining, the existing Article 4 and this, what's called Note 4 to that, still is in effect with respect to an A&R application on this property. So this is proper under
Okay.
what but this will be the last one we'll see, because this unique provision that affected properties in the Residence C district has been eliminated in the amendments we did last fall.
So are you telling me that I could take my property and divide it?
Not like this. The provision of Note 4 that says you can divide it as long as you still have an average of 60,000 square foot or
60,000.
better, that has been eliminated. So you would have to,
Okay,
in the future, split off and have left behind two at least 60,000 square foot lots.
okay. All right, well, I apologize for getting in the middle
No,
of
that's all
your.
right. That's all
I
right.
You're
was
right.
not.
No,
All right.
no,
Okay, Lucille, I yield to you, Lucille.
Well, I think that I am in the same situation as Laura. I am a resident of the property that's labeled on this map Hornby, although that's not the legal name of the lot. And I think that everything you just said to Laura applies to me. So I guess that's all I have to say.
yeah, you'll have to, both of you will just stay tuned as to what future development is proposed for this lot, and anything that's going further, you should, well, if there's a permit needed from a town board, you'll get notice. Not
Mhm.
necessarily. Building
Well,
permits,
mhm.
I'm not sure, building permits don't get notified to abutters, do they, anyone?
No,
No, so building permits, you know.
but
for a
they are
building-
appealable. They are appealable.
Yeah, so for a building permit, you just have to keep in touch with our building inspector's office and see if anything's been applied for. But
So-
but a permit in front of zoning or conservation or this board, that is going to require a public hearing that would
Mhm.
have a statutory notice.
So,
So are you saying that it's possible that a house could be built there without our being notified?
yes,
If,
Oh,
if,
it's-
if all it required was a building permit, period, yes, but it needs sewage disposal, everybody's telling me there's a floodplain there, I can see it on the line. I can see it on the map, I can see that you're saying that there's standing water on it, I think there's gonna be other issues involved. But
yeah,
You
know,
might inform the two members of the public that there is a tool on the web at the town called Permitize. And it allows you to watch what's happening in areas around town where development is taking place. So
Mhm.
there is, it's not that necessarily the case the building inspector would come to your house and tell you, hey, I got this, permit request, but I'm just notifying you that there is a way for you to monitor what's taking place around you using that tool.
Could you
Yeah.
spell it for me, please?
Permitize, PERMIT, and I think it's EYES. So it's
Right.
permit eyes.
Oh,
Louise, Lucille, you can access it on the town website.
That's correct.
thank you.
And it's tedious to keep checking and checking and checking.
It is. It's unfortunate that we don't have any other means, but we didn't usually have this means even a year ago that was functional enough for us to even use. So,
Mhm.
and the other thing is to make, you know, introductions, if you don't already, which I presume you would, know of your neighbor so that you could ask them if they would kindly notify you if and when they have any plans.
Well, that would be courteous.
Yeah, I think that was the. Any
But it would
proposed
have
house
been
there if they're permitting.
courteous of them to notify us of this meeting also.
Well, this is just the first step in the process. We're not proposing any houses at this point. But when we do, I'm 95% sure we'll have to go through not only zoning, but conservation as well. And you will get notified during that process for sure. And I'm sure, we'd also like to, you know, go over the plans with you guys beforehand, so that we know that.
Yeah, I don't even know how you would sit a house on that property.
Again, that's not for us to debate tonight.
No,
with
I
all due
understand.
respect. We have a number of things we want to get to, including. the
Understood,
Hobart
understood.
Lane one, so,
Okay.
all right, thank you though.
Laura, we can talk later offline if you like as well.
Okay, Brendan, I'll give you a call.
All right, so we have a motion to endorse without conditions. It's been seconded. Board alphabetical roll call, all in favor.
Clark Brewer, aye.
Tom Callahan, aye.
Amy Glassmeyer, aye.
Kevin Heine, aye.
Deirdre Hobson, aye.
All right, thank you all.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the screen share, please.
yes.
So. All right, next, we have 31 South Main Street. I believe this is a continuation of a special permit and site plan review under the village bylaw. Well, whoever's here for that.
Good evening, this is Gregory Morse.
Hey, Greg, how are you? Are you going to be taking the lead here?
Yes,
All right, why don't you just bring us up to speed of where we were from last time?
sure. This is a continued hearing at 31 South Main Street. I'm representing the property owner EMF Rice Realty Trust. Erica Rice is on the phone with us tonight, or the call. Also with us is the architectural designer, Paul Ford, for the property. This is an existing building that we were proposing to construct an addition off the back of it. Bless you. Off the back of the building was an addition. There was a question regarding the size of it and the size of the interior unit at the last meeting. Since that last meeting, we've revised the architectural plans to actually scale the building addition down slightly in size and reduce the size of that new residential unit. I'm glad to put a copy of the site plan up if you'd like. But essentially, we're adding at this point only one residential unit, as opposed to the initial application was to add 2 units. We've reduced, therefore, also the parking space requirements. You had a peer review done by Pat Brennan in regards to the drainage and the site layout. I believe we've satisfied his comments at this point in time. We submitted our revised site plan back in December, and Mr. Ford submitted, I believe, at the same time, those revised architectural plans showing the smaller dimensions on the addition. I'll turn it over to you, or I'll put the site plan up if you'd prefer.
Yeah, if you could put the plan up, that would help.
Will do. You see it, the plan right there?
Yeah.
Yes. So this black bold line is the perimeter of the property. The property is in our village business district in the downtown area. The existing building is right here, number 27. This has one existing residential unit in it, and it has storefront along the front of it on South Main Street. What we've shaded here in gray is the proposed addition. That is an addition of one residential unit. And included within that addition is a 2-space parking garage. Those 2 spaces would service that unit in the back of the building. The front of the building, there's that one unit on the inside is already serviced by 2 parking spaces adjacent to the building. We weren't changing those parking spaces. Out back, we were adding a very small area of new driveway just to access from the garage to the existing pavement on the site. Impervious lot coverage on the site was increased very minimally due to the fact that a significant portion of this backyard was already pavement surface. So that pavement surface comes out and gets replaced with the addition, and it gets replaced in these areas here with additional landscaping and lawn surface areas. So the increase in impervious land surface, as you'll see here, is a little under 200 square feet when the project is constructed. We had proposed to mitigate that increase in the runoff by adding dry wells to the back of the building. We proposed right here 4 dry wells, which would be connected to the roof gutter system and promote infiltration of that additional surface runoff. We also proposed the use of a porous driveway right here. So this is an asphalt driveway, but it's a porous asphalt that allows water to run through it. And underneath the asphalt is crushed stone to promote infiltration.
All right, and where's the square footage of the unit?
So I can have Paul put up the architectural plans. Paul, are you on the line?
Yes, I just got it. Yes, so we got the unit size to exactly 1,500 square feet. So we are within the bylaws now. Requirements.
Sorry, I was coughing. What was the number?
1,500 on the dot is the
I hate when things come right to the dot, because some intrepid building inspector in the future might say, oh my God, it's 1,500 square feet. Make it
We'll
put up
probably
the-
need some kind of a shaft somewhere that'll reduce that when we get to it.
The
And this-
residential gross floor area, definition changed, but you
Okay.
are, you're protected by, when you applied for this special permit.
Yeah, I'd add our floor area ratio on this site is well under the requirement as well. You're allowed up to a 1.3 floor area ratio. Our proposal's coming in at 0.52, so it's less than half of the maximum allowed floor area on the site.
Okay. Anybody else on the board have questions?
It hasn't been mentioned, but I did note, from the information on the website that the applicant, did a code analysis.
Oh,
with,
yes.
Fire rating, fire alarm, and they're gonna sprinkler, looks like.
Yes.
So those were some of the questions I had about, where the construction was so close to the property line. It provided that, that these recommendations are followed in the building permit, it should be fine.
Good.
Okay. Is there any member of the public who wishes to be heard on this proposal?
Not that I can see.
Okay. Again, anybody else on the board? Carolyn, any concerns? Sandra?
I just want to ask about the dry wells, Greg. If you could explain those, are those a simple infiltration dry well, or is there some amount of engineered flow to a secondary or third containment if they reach capacity?
So how we design the dry wells, they're plastic Cultec chambers that are below the ground surface. They are surrounded with crushed stone. Where we provide the overflow is essentially right at the base of the ground where the gutter downspout goes into the ground. We provide an inverted Y connection there so that the water will go down into those dry wells, and in the event those dry wells back up, it would flow out adjacent to the building, like a traditional gutter would if it was just discharging onto the ground surface.
Okay, yeah, there's limited space, it looks like, in that area, so you had to get had to consider that. So thanks for the additional explanation, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have a permit yet for an additional sewer connection for the new unit?
I don't believe that's been applied for yet. The sewer already services the building. It does need to be relocated because of the additional location.
Okay. Well, our permit would be conditioned, it would have a condition about making sure you get the proper permitting for that. Well, are there any other boards you had to go through with this?
No, I don't believe so.
All right, anybody, if nobody else has anything, entertain a motion, and I don't know if there's any, other than the conditions of subject to getting a sewer connection permit. There's any other conditions people have, just please shout them out, but otherwise I'll entertain a motion to close this hearing and issue a permit. Anyone?
Make a motion to approve the project as a special permit and site plan, and close the public hearing as designed with the usual standard decision conditions.
And subject to getting the sewer permit. All right, anybody second? Hello?
Second,
Thank you. All right. There's no further discussion. All in favor? Alphabetical.
Clark Brewer, aye.
Tom Callahan, aye.
Glassmeyer, aye.
Kevin Heine, aye.
Deirdre Hobson, aye.
All right. We'll get that to you as soon as we can. The board reminder, Cassandra will alert you when everything's ready for signatures. And, thank you very much. It's been a long process, but I'm glad we got to the end of it.
Good luck with your
Thank you, planning
project.
board.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Time is at 7:11. Should we, again, the times you put on the agenda are just suggestive.
Placeholders, right?
Yes, they're just suggestive. So we'll move right into 25 Hobart Lane. This is a new application. So Cassandra, if you do want to start with reading the public notice, appreciate it.
Can do that.
Presumably the notice that all the abutters did receive for this one.
Yes, I did receive this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Pursuant to MGL Chapter 40A and Section 300-11 of the Cohasset zoning bylaws, the planning board will hold a virtual public hearing on the Zoom platform, webinar ID 845-1104-6166, password 522121, on Wednesday, February 28th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. for a land alteration special permit for property being shown on Cohasset Assessor's Maps F3-29-048, 25 Hobart Lane, Cohasset, Massachusetts, 02025. The application is for raise and reconstruction of detached garage and driveway. The application is submitted by Jeff Kipp, 41 Hobart Lane, Cohasset, Mass. 02025. A copy of the application and plans and accompanying documents are on file for viewing in the town clerk's office at Cohasset Town Hall, 41 Highland Avenue, Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and Friday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Electronic versions of application material can be obtained by visiting cohassetma.org/active PB applications. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the application should access the virtual meeting at the time designated.
Okay. All right, just since we do have people here for this one, the order we will proceed is that we will hear from the applicant, then we will have questions and comments from members of the board, and then we'll hear from the public. We may close this tonight. We may not. Depends on what we hear and what we don't hear. So with that said, if you want to be heard in the audience, please raise your hand. You can type in a question if you wish. Raise your hand if you want to be promoted, and you'll have the opportunity to be put on the screen for Zoom and ask your question live. With that said, who's presenting for the applicant?
Paul Seberg from Grady Consulting, here on behalf of the applicant.
Okay.
And also, the architect Heidi Condon from HC Designs is here as well. I don't know if you can let her in to the meeting as well.
Yes,
Maybe
I
don't.
promoted her now.
Perfect. And I'll share my screen so everybody can see. Is that all set? Can everybody see the screen?
Yep.
Perfect. So this project is located at 25 Hobart Lane. Currently, the site consists of an existing single-family dwelling. It's located here. There's some ledge outcroppings throughout the property shown here, and which extend out to this area here. There's an existing detached garage that's located directly adjacent to Hobart Lane, shown here. And also there's an existing shed and deck structure located on top of the existing ledge structure in this area here. The applicant is proposing to raise the existing detached garage right here and construct a new detached garage in a conforming location on the lot. The applicant is requesting a special permit to remove the ledge in order to construct the detached garage. The applicant is proposing to remove approximately 320 square feet of ledge. Those areas are identified in red here on the plan. And also by removing the detached garage, we'll be exposing approximately 149 square feet of ledge shown here in light green. And also by removing the shed structure and deck structure located on top of the ledge, we'll be opening up approximately 297 square feet of ledge shown here. A total of 446 square feet. Overall, we feel as though the project will provide a greater view of the natural exposed ledge by removing the detached garage from Hobart Lane. We're not proposing to do any blasting here. We're proposing to remove the ledge by utilizing an impact hammer attachment. And also, as based on the peer review comments, we're reducing the impervious coverage here by proposing a pervious driveway, most likely a gravel driveway. And by reducing the impervious coverage on the site, we're reducing the drainage that flows into the site, so stormwater is not required here. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have. Or also Heidi, if she would like to add anything to the presentation.
The one thing I would like to add, if possible, if you look at the existing one-story garage. It is literally 1 foot 3 inches from Hobart Lane. It's completely in the setback. Many neighbors have voiced their concern to Mr. Kipp that this is an eyesore and it's too close to the road. So one of the major benefits also is once we remove this garage, the new garage is completely conforming to zoning regs, but we've also minimized how long the new driveway is, which is why we didn't push it any further back into the property. But we are providing, better access in and out of Hobart Lane without a building a foot off the road. And as Paul said, there'll be a much better visibility of the existing ledge from the road. That's it.
Cassandra, is our peer reviewer here?
I don't see Pat here, no.
Did he submit a written comments? I haven't seen them.
He did submit written comments, yes. They were uploaded. Did you want me to pull them up and screen share them, or?
Yeah, why don't you just, I don't know how many other board members have seen them or not seen them, but I just want to see if he's raised any particular concerns.
Okay. Paul, you may need to stop sharing
Yes,
for a
I'll stop
moment.
sharing. There you go.
Thanks. So obviously this portion of the memo is summary, which you've just gotten. These were Pat's comments here.
Okay. Excuse me. Your thoughts on comment number 1? To the applicant, about that there could be another small area of ledge that could be preserved.
Yes, I believe that Pat's talking about this small area over here, that's outside of the driveway. And I agree, this area right here probably doesn't need to be removed. And most of this area here is probably just gonna be underneath the proposed driveway. As far as grading, so you probably won't need to actually physically remove this, but it will be covered up. But the right-hand side could probably stay right as it is.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And unless anybody on the board needs that screen, should take that out. Let's bring the site plan
What's that,
over.
Tom? We can't hear you.
I'm sorry, unless anybody on the board wants, we can take Pat's comments off the screen share and let's go back to the site plan so we can have that. I'll start with whoever on the board wants to start, if they have any questions or comments.
Tom, does the review of this go beyond the ledge removal? I mean, I haven't seen any drawings with regard to the structure, the garage itself. And are we reviewing the conformity or applicability of that, or is that separate from this?
This is just under the ledge removal. We had dealt with this property earlier with some changes up at the house. We did that a couple of months ago.
It was a large home review.
Yeah, it was a large home review.
I believe we did show the garage and we talked about the height of it, and we did lower the height per the board's concern. So the garage has been reviewed.
Okay.
And the lighting on the garage was part of that discussion as well?
Yes, and we revised all the lighting to meet the dark sky requirements. And we provided the specific specs of the lights that we've chosen.
Helpful. I don't have any other comments.
Yeah, I just would say, having driven down that once or twice, removal of that existing garage should make all your neighbors thrilled. And this location, seems like it's reasonable. The ledge, being exposed as opposed to the ledge removed, the new exposed ledge being larger, I think is a benefit to the project. I don't see anything wrong with what's been put in the application.
I just want to say to the butters and everybody that the bylaw as it's currently written allows for the removal of visible ledge to not only construct the main house, but something like a garage. Personally, that's something I'd like to amend, but be that as it may, in the few cases we've had under this bylaw, the one precedent that was established down on Howard Gleason Road was to follow a similar concept to what happens with wetlands. Sometimes when you're allowed to fill wetlands, you're then required to create more wetlands somewhere else to compensate. And this, we did that didn't think about it prior, but it's the way things worked out on Howard Gleason Road is that by covering up some exposed ledge, and it was in the backyard, they exposed ledge in other places on the property, so still having the same visual impact. So it's sort of a ledge replication, like we have a wetlands replication. And so this idea, if you're going to cover up some and uncover others, is something we've, in the few times we've used this bylaw, we've endorsed it. And I think it's a very creative idea, particularly where what will be uncovered is equally as visible from the road as what is being taken away. Actually, with the garage being removed, it's going to be more visible than what's visible there today. So I just want everybody to be aware of that, of how we've been approaching this as a policy. So I have no particular comments about it. I don't know, Amy or Deirdre.
I'm sorry. So the decking that's being removed, is that wood decking, I call it, on the water side in front of the arches on the front side of the house, if I'm correct, and that's where ledge is being exposed?
At the
No,
garage.
No.
it's
No.
where Paul has deck identified right there. If you
Yeah.
drive by, you can see it. It's literally
Yes.
covering edge right now.
Okay.
Right now, it's just sitting and pinned on top
A
of the ledge.
wooden deck,
Correct.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
and then
No,
there's
I-
this little shed. It looks like you had originally been an
Yep.
artist studio.
Studio, yep, I've got,
And
yep,
we're removing all of that.
okay. No, I know the house well. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I have no comments.
All right. Carolyn or Cassandra, any questions, concerns, comments?
None from me.
We do have some comments from abutters.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm getting to them. I just want to finish everything on our side. All right, so on the abutter side, at least on my screen, I don't see any hands up. Is there someone who wishes to be, all right, Ms. Hornby, I'm sorry. Would you like to be promoted? We'll promote you and you can ask us your question or make your comment.
Tom, if the abutter is reluctant to speak,
She's
but-
there.
okay,
Yeah,
I
I
don't-
could speak. My property is to the east, I think you would say. It's 36 Lothrop Lane. We're in a butter. And the property that is under discussion is way higher than my property. We have had a lot of problems with water going from different properties on Hobart Lane down onto my property and my neighbor's properties. And I'm concerned The new garage is going to be built, as far as I can see, on what's now lawn. And I don't know what's under the lawn and how much water is absorbed by that lawn. But is there any provision that could be made that when the old garage is removed, there could be some water, I don't know what you'd call it, but I mean, the water flows down Hobart Lane and then into my property, and it also goes directly from this property into my property. And it seems like there will be less absorbent space after this is happening, and I wondered if there could be any provision for using the space where the old garage was for water retention.
What is the plan for that area? There is going to be a pervious driveway where there's a paved driveway. That will be one small cell.
Right, so
Obviously, the presence of ledge leads to just natural runoff that we have to, that just is. But what is the plan for where the existing garage is?
this area will all be landscaped. That's what we're proposing to do with the existing garages.
Okay. And on the new garage, where is the roof runoff going?
So the roof runoff is currently just, do you have any downspouts on this, Heidi? This.
Yes, we have gutters and downspouts.
So, right, so the runoff will just flow overland adjacent to the garage. But as I mentioned previously, since we're reducing the impervious coverage on the site, we're also reducing the runoff from pre-existing conditions. And with respect to where the water is flowing right now, we're not changing the grades on this area of the site, and they flow this way towards Hobart Lane, not towards the abutters property at 36 Lothrop. So there's no water being directed to her property with the proposal.
I would like to differ, because when the surveyors did the surveying for the house on this property that we're talking about, they identified 2 areas, or maybe 3, I can't remember, of wetlands on my property that were never previously wetlands. And the only way they could become wetlands, oh, it's down here, these flags.
That's right, yeah.
The only way they could have become wetlands is runoff from this property.
Well, it could be runoff from any of the properties. We've done nothing to disturb this land. Nothing has changed on this land for probably 30 years, at least.
Well,
Right.
that's true.
Be natural. It could be natural, but it could be coming from any of the neighbors.
I think it is natural, but since they are now changing some of the things, it would be nice if more of the water on that property could be kept on that property.
Well, for the landscaping where the existing garage is, we could make it a rain garden, Paul, and that does retain water more.
Right, we could drop a little shallow point and do a rain garden and route a roof leader over there.
And those are actually quite beautiful because they will have flowering plants. It looks completely natural, but it does hold water, and we can direct water in that location, which would be as far away as possible from your property and still on this property.
Well, the problem with my property is that the water goes down Hobart Lane off this. I get water from this property 2 ways. One is when it goes down Hobart Lane and it makes the right turn, and then it follows Hobart Lane and comes onto my property. And
So at least any water that's coming down Hobart Lane before where the current garage footprint is, some of that will be captured in a rain garden.
Well, that would be good.
But
We also have the issue that part of this lawn is now covered with garage. Could there be compensating something there?
you are putting essentially now a building as a dam across that little neck of lawn.
But the lawn would absorb water, right?
Oh, yeah, it'll absorb water, but the question is the roof runoff. So you're saying, Heidi, that in one direction you could direct it toward the rain garden on Hobart Lane,
Yes.
but on the slope of the garage that's facing the other direction, Where
We
is that?
could capture it in a dry well if
Well,
that's,
that's what I was gonna suggest, is perhaps a dry well on that
Yeah.
side of the garage, and it would at least retain temporarily and slow down the roof runoff on that side of the roof.
do you have
Right.
any issues with that, Paul? Would that be feasible?
No, that's perfectly fine. But I'd just like to also reiterate that by reducing the impervious coverage on the site, we are actually reducing the runoff that's going to be flowing off the site in post-development conditions from pre-existing conditions. From an engineering standpoint,
Right, we may be engaging in overkill, but it's not.
yeah, but that's perfectly fine, yes,
Let me ask, are you getting a stormwater permit here?
it's not required for this, just as
Okay.
Pat Brennan mentioned in his peer review.
Okay. Yeah, that's right, he did. But we're gonna kind of take up some of those issues, I guess. Expand ourselves a little bit.
And also where we're removing the existing driveway, that area now being pervious will absorb water.
Right,
Right,
it's
right
basically-
off of Hobart Lane.
And it's
Correct.
a similar area as the proposed garage in the grass area, which will be
Right.
converted to grass area.
A dry well on the other side of the garage wouldn't hurt.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anything else, Ms. Hornby?
Not really, because Jeff reassured me that there's not going to be major blasting. I was concerned that if there was major blasting, it would affect my house. But
The
I guess
applicant
that's
said
no
no
longer a
blasting, no
consideration.
blasting, just chipping.
Yeah, he just said no blasting, we can make that a condition that, they represented they can do this with hammer jacks, so we can condition that that's how it gets done.
Well, thank you very much for hearing me.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the public wish to be heard? Okay. All right, so I'm taking notes here that we're looking at removal of ledge and replication of ledge or uncovering of ledge as proposed but modified by Pat Brennan's comment number 1. We're gonna have a pervious driveway, we're gonna have dark star lighting on the garage, we're gonna have a rain garden at the site of the old garage. The roof runoff on the new garage would be directed both to the rain garden and to a dry well on the other side, and there'd be no blasting. Chipping on to remove what ledge has to be removed. Anything else that anybody is concerned about or would see the need for a condition?
I'll make a motion that references what you just outlined.
Okay, to grant the special permit, making the finding that this is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood with the conditions I've outlined. All in favor? Well, any second to that motion?
Second.
The motion also includes closing the public hearing. Seconded by Kevin, thank you. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, all in favor?
Clark Brewer, aye.
Tom Callahan, aye.
Amy Glassmar, aye.
Kevin Heine, aye.
Deirdre Hobson, I.
Okay, great. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank
Again,
thank
we'll
you very
get that-
much.
we'll get that to you as quickly as we can.
thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Carolyn, Cassandra, I'll shoot you those conditions hopefully later tonight.
That would be great. I did make notes, but any specific verbiage you would like?
The king of excess verbiage. Although Carolyn's good at it too. We're all good at it. All right, so last but not least on our list for tonight, we have a new public hearing for a large home review at 195 Sawyer Street. So if you could read the public notice for that, please.
Yes, I will once I find what I did with it. Here we go. Pursuant to MGL Chapter 40A and 300-5.4 of the Cohasset zoning bylaws, the planning board will hold a virtual public hearing on the Zoom platform, webinar ID 1104-6166, passcode 522121 on Wednesday, February 28th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. for a large house plan review for property shown as Lot B, 195 Sawyer Street, Cohasset, Mass. 02025. The application is for large house plan review for a single-family home with a total residential gross floor area of 5,647 square feet. The application is submitted by Jonathan Desmond of 193 Sawyer Street, Cohasset, Mass. 02025. A copy of the application and plans and accompanying materials are on file for viewing in the town clerk's office at Cohasset Town Hall, 41 Highland Avenue, Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and Friday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Electronic versions of application material can be obtained by visiting cohassetma.org/active PB applications. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the application should access the virtual meeting at the time designated.
Thank you. And likewise, with the previous one, we will hear from the applicant, we will hear from the board and staff and council, and then we will take questions and comments from the public. If you wish to be heard, raise your hand and you'll be promoted to ask your question and make your comment. All right, so who is presenting this for the applicant?
My name is Will Sofrin, and I'll be presenting it, representing the applicant.
Okay. Do you have a plan for us to screen share?
I do. Okay. Okay, has everyone got my screen? Everyone seeing the plans? I've got right here a cover sheet. So the John and Sarah Desmond bought their property 193 Sawyer Street in 2017 with one son, and now they've got 3 sons, and they're outgrowing their home. And Sarah's parents would like to move in with them. So the concept came up to divide the lot into 2 lots. So we have Lot A and Lot B. And the goal is to build a new residence on Lot B for John and Sarah to move into so that Sarah's parents can move into the current residence on Lot A. I'm going to go right to, got a site survey here from Kelly
I
Engineering.
think the board members will remember that we approved the A&R for this maybe a year ago.
And then what we have right here is just certification that this project does comply with all required zoning requirements for the application.
Could you zoom in on that for a moment?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Is everyone? We
Yeah,
okay?
all right. Like to see your height calculation and how you did it too.
I don't know if the height, we have the, I'll show you on the elevation where we have the average grade plane and how we base the height. What I've got here is I've got a site plan showing how the intention is to, the current house where they live, I guess, was the former town swimming pool and the town pool house. So the idea with this project is to keep the 2 properties in sync and make this pool area the central outdoor space for the kids and the grandparents. It also creates an opportunity for us to preserve and not disturb any of the beautiful wetland back here, the natural topography, the existing natural landscape. I've got right here, I think it's really important, our context analysis sheet, where we can see the surrounding neighbors, abutting. They've got the elementary school that's across the street from the property, which is right here. And then what we've done too also is we've done an elevation for the entire lot, showing how the way that the new home is situated, it allows we're benefiting from the topography by lowering the proposed structure. And as you can see from the street, the roof line, the ridge line of the roof is sort of in line with the existing structure, which is much closer to the street. So there is the benefit of reducing the impact and not diminishing from the existing character of the neighborhood. This is a profile cross-section of the lot showing the proposed structure in relation to the existing residence that the Desmonds are occupying. The existing structure that they're occupying is a brick structure, and they love that. So the idea was to design a timeless home that was not contemporary, but something that will age well in the town of Cohasset. And I've got here a couple images of some of their traditional inspiration that they really like. They love the brick that exists on the current dwelling. So having white brick was a real primary, was an important material for the Desmonds to incorporate. Also, sort of these steep pitched roofs, something very traditional in New England, was a love of Sarah Desmond. So we've worked to incorporate that into the structure. Just proposing asphalt shingles for this slope roof. We've got a metal lap material for the flat roof eaves right here. And for the foundation, we'd like to do sort of a stone clad look to kind of add that bit of a traditional element that you might have seen 100 years ago with the foundation. Unfortunately, we discovered during the design process that the water table is so high that it forced us to elevate the structure much higher than actually we wanted it to be. And because of the topography, it required us creating this basement. But Mr. Desmond does like to collect his cars, and so we took lemons and turned them into lemonade and have created sort of a garage space due to the necessity of the height of the water table and the restrictions to the lot. So that's the basement level. This is the main floor level. Let me know if I'm going too fast, if there are any questions. This is the second floor. We'll have the bedrooms for the family. And then there is a roof plan right here, and there's a roof deck leads up that helps them enjoy a nice perspective of the swimming pool and the view from the house looking back at the wetlands. So this is the front elevation of the house, and you can see how the lot slopes down here. So we've had to create sort of a terraced landscape situation so there's not a massive drop off. Again, we had originally intended the house to be lower into the ground, but the water table prevented that. In regards to the height calculation, Kelly Engineering established the average grade plane for the baseline that we used for the height to establish our maximum height, which is
how did they do that? We changed our definition and methodology of how many data points you need. Last spring.
I don't have the answer for that question, but they did that this fall, and I'm happy to get that information and provide it. I'm confident that their diligence was done to ensure that this is accurate. If it's not, we will make it correct, but I'm very confident.
Could you zoom in on it so I could see what these little notes are on this? Okay. And where is there a measurement?
This is the baseline for the measurement. And if you want, I can go back to their site plan where they established it. And so the base grade is at 4830.
Yeah, while we're talking about it, why don't you just go to the site plan and show us where the points were taken, so we can put this to bed.
Let's see. Now, I'm not sure if it doesn't look like they've called out where the points were taken. This is the Kelly site plan.
And can you go down to the screen, the screen that had the picture of the white brick and everything? Because on the top of it was some other measurements of this building. Yeah, that one. Can you zoom in on that in the top part?
Yes. Mm-hmm. you're gonna see the same elevation marks here, sir.
And I'm trying to read what that small print is at the top.
Oh, base grade plane building height.
No, I'm at the top, at the ridge line of the roof. What
Oh,
does that say up there?
this max building height,
Yeah. Yeah, what does that say? What's the number underneath it?
oh, 83 feet.
83 feet.
Yeah,
That's the elevation,
Oh,
That's
the
the
not the
elevation?
overall height.
yeah.
Okay.
The maximum building height would allowable is 35 feet.
All right, but doesn't 83, what, the number at the bottom is 45 something or 46 something?
It's 48.3 feet, sir.
Okay, sorry, I can't see it, but,
No, I'm sorry. I can zoom in.
so it's right at the limit of 35 feet is what you're telling us.
It's slightly below. I think we finished out at 6 inches below.
All right, well, I think we do need to make, particularly if he looked at this in the fall, you know, depending on whether he was aware of the bylaw that passed in the spring and whether it had been approved yet. I just want to make sure of the calculation. That
Yes.
they're coming to the right number here.
I am noting that right
Particularly
now.
since it's close for comfort here, you know.
I understand, sir.
And I presume that other permits are gonna be needed from Concom for stormwater.
I haven't gotten that far at this point, sir. I really thought it would be important for us before we got too far down the track
Mhm.
to have this presentation to achieve some initial feedback from the commission to incorporate that feedback into our continued development of this project.
Based on the site plan, your construction is within the 100-foot buffer from the flagged wetlands. And not very close to the 50-foot, which they consider a no build area.
Yes,
So you probably have to go to the Concom for stormwater and in the 100-foot, but those are doable.
The other thing under our large home review is the lighting plan and the landscape plan. Could you go over what you have for those?
yes, sir. Do you guys want to see the rest of the elevations or should I just jump to that?
Yeah, show us what you haven't shown us yet.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so we've got the front elevation and proposed south. This is the proposed west elevation. And you can see here how as the lot slopes down as we go from front to back. This line represents the topography on the eastern facade of the house. This is the rear facade, which is the north face. And so what we've got is we've got a driveway that continues back. It comes down right here and services the extra, car storage that I mentioned. Goal here was for us to really be really careful and do as little cutting and grading as possible to mess with the topography that leads back down the hill to the wetlands. Here we've got the west elevation, and in order for us to mitigate the drop off that happens here, or sorry, the east we've got we created 2 courts on the side that tear down with some stone clad retaining walls. And I'll just go back as a reference to the front elevation that those are those 2 tiers that I'm talking about. And then we would plant trees to kind of conceal and not, diminish that appearance of such a drop off. I'm going to go to our site plan right here. And what we've got right here is a landscape lighting legend. Per the guidelines, we've worked on really sort of creating a minimum light plan where we just got the driveway lightly lit. So when you come in, We're gonna have some trees planted right here and really try to create a natural screening effect from the street. Fortunately, there's the existing brick wall that runs along Sawyer. So create a gate situation right here, an entrance, and then hopefully, these trees as they fill in are gonna help diminish again the presence of this house being so far back. Lighting was really, as you can see right here, just really kept to a minimum. This nice little fixture right here, just some very gentle path lighting around the house. And this hatch represents the intended undisturbed. We wanted to do a minimum amount of disturbing with the existing conditions on the property. This hatch right here, it represents Lot A. So we're just sort of focused on this area with Lot B. Are there any questions I could answer?
Yep.
I do have,
Anybody from the board, go ahead. But
I do have two more things.
Yep.
If I may, I do have, if you'd like to see, the Desmonds have been conscientious about neighbors and have included this project as it's been developing to their neighbors, the abutting neighbors, speaking with them, showing them the plan development. If the board would like, I have two letters of support from two different abutting neighbors supporting this project in full as it's been presented to you. I can share those with you or not. Your call.
Definitely, definitely send them to Cassandra.
Send them to the office to be put as part of the record.
It's always good to get letters of support from abutters. I had a question about the stone, the brick wall on the front. You said you were gonna make an opening with some gates or of some kind.
I'm not sure about that, if there's going to be a gate there or not. We don't know what the feeling is right there. I know it's a very safe, nice neighborhood and there are no gates.
Right.
So that's really, I just meant to, sort of say there's an opening there.
Well, you're gonna have, it's like a 400-foot long brick wall. So you're gonna have to bust an opening 10, 12, 14
Yes.
feet wide, something like that. And then finish off the edges with some new material.
Yes.
Okay.
And just sorry, yeah, to follow up on that, Clark, is I don't see where I'm not sure where that's gonna fall, where the crosswalk is for the school too.
It shows up on the plan.
Oh, it's what I was,
If you look
okay.
at the driveway and the crosswalk, that's the existing crosswalk.
See, there's the existing crosswalk right there. And then this
Yeah.
is the driveway.
Okay, so
It
just
is
so
right
you-
there.
it's right there, okay.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
The other comment is when I looked at this initially before your presentation, I was like, gee, the house is really jammed up towards the front. But now that I know it's a multi-generational compound, essentially, that explains it.
Yeah.
You want to have your separate space, but be close as well. From a
And
planning
that-
perspective, that makes sense.
And that's why you see there's no other swimming pool. Like the family wants to cohabitate together and enjoy the property.
And on the basement plan, there was a note, something about a boat.
Yeah. Mr. Desmond is a active sailor and his boys are about to start entering the sailing world. So
Oh yeah, that's great.
this is really probably going to be where the kids' opties go and all their sailing gear and sails and winter kind of stuff.
That's dynamite. Is that a Porsche 356 or a 911? I can't really tell.
I think it's a Tesla Model S I use as a cab block just because
All
it's
right, that's good.
sedan.
That's good. But yeah, I'm a boat guy, so it's always good to have space to do your projects.
Yeah.
I do have one more comment. I noticed in your section, if you could just pull your section up,
Mhm.
that you have offset footings, ones that are flush with your exterior wall. Yeah, those things.
Mhm.
And that would be more typical in kind of zero setback situations. I don't know if you intended to do that because of the setback, but you should be able to do standard spread footings. But check in with the building inspector. typically the setback is from the wall, not to the closest footing.
Yeah, this is at this stage preliminary where we are.
Okay.
It's just sort of more of a start and suggestion. I'm gonna defer to what our structural engineer
course.
devises, and then that'll be reflected in the architectural set.
Of course, just so you know that the setback is typically to the building face or foundation is what they do the as-built. So a footing would extend into the setback in this situation where you're conforming to the existing 20-foot side setback.
Gotcha.
Whatever you work out on that is fine. I just wanted to point it out.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else from the board? I
Yeah, Will,
see-
you spoke to the landscape lighting, and that looks all landscape lighting that provides minimal glare, minimal output, to highlight the lighting, but not be obtrusive to passerbyers or to abutters. Could you speak to the lighting? And I think you did have some shown earlier in your plans that's actually on the exterior of the building. I didn't see any compliance with regard to dark skies, anti-glare, or anything in the features shown that you, I don't think you had an opportunity to speak to them, but I did see them in one of your earlier sheets.
Yeah, I did not have an opportunity to speak to that, and I appreciate you bringing that up. Honestly, this is really just a bit of a filler piece, like Urban Electric. I'm familiar with dark skies. One of my solutions has always been actually to put a sleeve over the light bulb that helps limit the amount of light that comes off. But I'd like to say that this is more meant to show an intention and a plan here, but I would like to continue working on finding the right light fixture for the house. I wouldn't say that this is it. And but I am very conscious of dark skies, and that all goes back to the landscape lighting where you see that we've just got that fixture that's just casting some down lighting because you know, the Desmonds appreciate seeing the stars, and they would certainly hate to not appreciate losing some of that visibility they have.
So that was a filler, and that will be updated then. That is not representative of the direction you're headed then.
That's correct. I look at it more as like this is more of an aesthetic direction, but I promise that we will absolutely be selecting fixtures that conform with dark sky requirements.
Okay. Anyone else on the board? Cassandra or Carolyn, anything? No? All right, I see we have one Q&A and a hand up from the same folks, the Jacobs. To the Jacobs, if you want to be promoted, keep the hand up. If you do not, take the hand down and I'll read your Q&A comment. See that the hand remains up, so if you could promote them, Cassandra.
Good evening. I hope that you guys can hear us. Yes?
Yep. If you could give us your name and address, please.
Yeah, of course. Sasha and Bob Jacobs, 183 Sawyer Street, Cohasset.
Okay. You have the floor.
We're right here where you're pointing there, direct to butters to the existing home. We actually have not a shared driveway, but the driveway that's used to access the home. The only access to the home currently is on our property. And there's, well, I don't want to use the wrong language for what the arrangement is, so I'm going to stay away from that. I'm just trying to indicate, you know, how intimate the two properties are. And aside from that, we weren't shown any plans. There was something lightly said about building a house back there, but as far as us being included in the discussion as it progressed. We weren't, and maybe time or what have you. Can you do? It's fine, and we're very friendly with the Desmonds. I did want to ask specifically about the roof deck plan. What exactly is that overlooking? Our yards are very close. We have a pool in our yard, right? I don't know. Oh, you can't see our yard here. You know, where we are, and we like our privacy. And I just was curious as to if this roof deck is going to just be directly looking over ours. And I hopefully wrong. I can't tell where exactly it is, and I'm not the best at figuring this stuff out.
Can I help answer the question?
Please do. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So I went to the site plan just to help show you. So your property is right here.
Yep.
And the roof deck is proposed right here. I'll go to the roof plan. So
Sure.
the idea was to put it here, and then actually between the roof deck and your property is a ridge line that goes across with a higher roof. So the point of the roof deck is so that the Desmonds can keep an eye on their kids, the pool right here. But there was the intention of intentionally having this high roof line right here. And I'm going to go show you how that works to prevent, to continue to create privacy with between your two properties. So.
Okay, so it's over there. I'm
yeah.
embarrassed to say, but with the northerly, southerly, I'm thinking, wait a second, looking from what direction? So, okay.
So if you're looking at the front of the house, your property is over here.
Mhm.
And the roof deck is right here. And actually it's sunk in.
Yeah.
to the
Oh, I
roof.
get like cut out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cut out. So a person's head would only be about right where the tip of that cursor is. And then this is that roof line that runs the whole eastern facade that's higher up to
Mhm.
create that continued to protect your privacy from their
Right.
roof deck.
Right. Okay, great. And then, so the side that is abutting us, if you could show me, here you go. Would you mind going back to it's better perspective for me when I see the existing home so I can get my bearing?
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
No problem.
On the,
the home's far away from our.
Let me go to the site plan. So this is where you are. So would you like to see this side?
I was just curious, and by the way, the design looks gorgeous. Love the modern-esque farmhouse look of it. It's fantastic. Curious about, yeah, that side. I guess that's going to be the drop-off wall you spoke of, and then what exactly is going to be the tie-in on that side over to the existing property? What is there a plan for that, or what's that gonna?
There's no plan. I mean, there have been some discussions, but right now, John and Sarah have asked me really to focus just on this.
Right.
I know that the tie-in plan would be to develop, they want to create a walkway so that they can obviously just walk over here and use, I mean, this is going to be the intended quote unquote backyard of the property is going to be right here. I think, and then over here, we've got this terrace area. So the idea would also, which I think, you know, help with maybe some concern of privacy too, is I've got these trees that are planted along this wall right here, the retaining wall that's create that terrace yard to reduce the towering, but also just create privacy between the two properties right here. If I go back to my elevation here, you can see sort of that suggestion of the
I
mature
understand.
trees.
Okay, so okay. But so the terrace, I'm sure I'm not seeing it properly or don't have the imagination for it, but I feel like that's okay.
Will those hedges be built anywhere near the easement?
There won't be any easement. No, there'll be no conflict there with the easement. So the easement between the two properties is only right here.
Right. Yeah.
And so these hedges will be built right over here or planted right here in between lot A and lot B, a good distance away from the abutting neighbor.
Yeah, us. So, okay, but this lower deck here that we're talking about,
This one?
yeah, is there, so that elevation then though kind of does lift it up. We're right here, you know.
can't see it.
Yeah, and the reason why is we're not happy about the structure needing to be as high as it is. We're really not happy about that. It was supposed to be substantially lower. It's due in part to the requirements that we're going to need for right here. We have an outline for the new septic system for the existing structure.
Yeah.
Septic system. So that's where trying to ease the impact, instead of having this sort of be a big drop off with a hill, we came up with this idea of creating this flat yard here, but then terrace it down, and then have the trees around it so that it's hopefully when it's mature and done, for you guys, you're just going to see a nice line of trees right there that'll help maintain that separation and privacy. But
right, we'd encourage, and I'm sure end up speaking.
Will that roof deck be looking down at all into the meadow? Because I know it's
Yes.
going to be coming.
Yes, it will. So it'll be looking down. The roof deck's going to have a nice
They're
view.
calling this that.
No, our meadow. I'm sorry. We have an area that we sit at a lot. There's a fireplace, there's a barn, a shed.
I don't think so, again, because the idea is that it's right here, and we've got this large roof again that acts like a big wall. Like what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to that eastern elevation that will be facing your property, and you can sort of see how the roof deck is on the other side of this down here. And so this right here, this section of roof is going to act like a big sort of blocker for you to maintain your privacy.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's appreciated. That's great. Okay. And then the plantings that then would go along this lower piece on the left-hand side as my screen sees it. Would those plantings, you know, would the maturity level of them initially be enough to have privacy, or is that going to be 3 years down the road type thing? I would encourage.
I would say initially, absolutely. The plan is to bring in mature trees that are large, because I also think the Desmonds, just the feeling right here of this tier and the drop off on their end is very uncomfortable. So to have trees here, I mean, I think we'd be looking at 36 or 48-inch boxes, honestly, to start. We'd want to start off and make sure that this fills in quickly and feels as if it's been established for a substantial amount of time.
Okay, but that's still not covering at that height. That's not going to be covering any, like if they're
3 to 4 foot trees.
they're
right?
not going to have privacy either. If
Oh,
it's,
when I said 3 to 4 foot trees, I'm talking about boxes. So you're going to have a very tall tree. It's just a definition of
oh,
planting.
the box. Oh, okay. I thought you meant like when you buy a tree by the root size.
No, yeah, sorry. Yeah. So it would be the box size, the root, but that's not representative of the height.
Okay.
Thank you.
In the drawings at some point when you guys get buttoned down and stuff, I wouldn't mind seeing a schematic with those there.
This is the first time we've seen it.
Yeah, it's the first time. So when that happens, we'll be looking at that.
Absolutely. And I feel bad, like John and Sarah told me that they've been trying to reach out to everyone. And so, I've got letters from other neighbors, but I can wholeheartedly say, like, absolutely, they want to hear what you have to say. They want you to be included in this. They understand that there's an impact to you. So I know that they care about that, and we will absolutely include you in the continued development of the project.
Great.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Tom, something that's related to what was just discussed is that that retaining wall or that patio that's on the east side.
Yeah.
Stone walls can only be 3 feet high, according to our zoning bylaw, when they're in the setback. You can build a 3 foot high retaining wall right on the property line. It seems like you may have to create another step to accomplish that.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah. And I'll make a note of that.
It's in a nuancy part of the zoning bylaw. I can't tell you which section. But it covers fences and stone walls. We used to have it not be limited to 3 feet height, and then about 10 years ago, some guy on Cedar Lane built 8-foot high granite walls like right on the property line. Everyone freaked out, so they changed the zoning to be only 3 feet.
Gotcha.
That's only in the setback area. Once you're beyond, you're 20 feet, the height obviously doesn't matter.
I made a note of that and we will incorporate that adjustment.
Yeah, stepping it, there's no reason why you couldn't build a 3-foot wall, set it back a couple of feet, build another 3-foot high wall, and then you're there.
Yeah. And maybe that would actually be a nicer way to soften it with the hillside right there instead of even what we have. And then do
That's
some
right. Yeah,
plant
you could have some flowy planting off of that.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, anybody else? All right, I think we have some, so we're just here that we need perhaps a redesign of this retaining wall. I'd like to see how the height calculations were arrived at. Was there anything else that we needed to see? I don't think so.
I think a better completed lighting plan. I think
Yeah.
Kevin's comments.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry. All right, Cassandra, when would be an available date that we could continue this to?
Assuming that those materials are not going to be ready by next Wednesday, your following meeting would be March 20th or April 3rd.
Probably go for April 3rd.
Though April 3rd is what we were projecting your Section 5 hearing to be. So assuming that
Probably.
we stick with that, then the following would be April 24th.
Okay.
Do we have anything else on the third's agenda at the moment?
You did just have one large home review application come in today.
All right. I mean, I'm anticipating at the moment we're going to need a meeting on the 10th and have two nights of Section 5 hearings, just to prepare everybody for that.
Tom, in terms of what they need to follow up on, I think it's relatively minor. It shouldn't take up too much time. So
Yeah, I mean, it would help us if you did the March date.
The only problem is, unfortunately, I'm going to be in Australia.
something
Kind
with
of
the
The time
Barbie.
difference there.
That's kind of the beauty of Zoom, but I get
I
it.
know I will literally be on the airplane.
No, all right, so, I guess we'd have to do then later into April.
Okay.
We're going to have one, probably 2 hearings for bylaw changes, and it's gonna be extensive. So I'm trying not to schedule anything on those nights if we can avoid it.
Let me see what I can do, and let me see if maybe our engineer from Kelly Engineering can stand in for me. That way we'll be able to directly answer how he achieved the height calculation.
Yeah.
And with my notes, the other adjustments would just be presenting the adjustments to the retaining walls and also updating the lighting package to show compliance with dark skies.
Yep.
That works.
Okay.
So you
All right.
could always continue to March 20th, and then if for some reason you feel like either you or the other representative are not prepared, you could ask for the continuance to April 24th ahead of the 20th meeting.
Why don't we do that? Because I think it sounds like it helps you guys out as long as you're okay with the Kelly Engineering coming, and I think
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
That's fine.
great.
We don't play favorites. So, all right, so I'll entertain a motion to continue this to March 20th at 6:30.
So moved.
Second.
please?
Second.
All in favor?
Clark Brewer, aye.
Tom Callahan, aye.
Amy Glassmar, aye.
Kevin Heine, aye.
Deirdre Hobson, I.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll see you then.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night. All right, we have two other things on the agenda. I think we have two sets of minutes, March 6th, March 20th. Did I have a motion to those minutes?
Just for clarification, March 6th and March 20th are your next hearing dates.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's what I'm looking at. What yeah, there was only one night of minutes. I'm sorry. Right?
Yes, it's from your last meeting on February 7th.
Okay. All right. A motion to approve the minutes of February 7th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Clark Brewer, aye.
I'm Callahan, aye.
Hey, Glassmar, aye.
Deirdre
Kevin
Hobson,
Heine,
I. Sorry,
Sorry.
Kevin.
No,
Deirdre
sorry.
Hobson,
We
aye.
heard you both. We heard you both.
Okay.
Maybe we should just say aye at the same time.
Yeah.
Save
All
the
right.
3 or 4 seconds.
Then we have on Heritage Estates off of Beechwood Street. There was a request for a lot release of that subdivision, and I think is it the last lot?
Yes,
I believe so. Do you want me to pull?
Yeah, could you pull up the
Greg forward?
request? Yeah. Because I believe there's still an issue that not everything is done. They're trying to hit the market, the spring market, but I will tell you that I'm a little reluctant to release a lot, particularly this project's, I don't know, how many years old is it?
15 or more.
Yeah, you would think you would have your infrastructure all done by now.
If I may, this is Greg Morse.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan. Representing the property owner, yeah, the subdivision holds one, the planning board holds one lot, lot 6. Right now is the surety to make sure that the roadway and the subdivision project are complete. I can tell you the project is substantially complete. All of the lots have been built on with the exception of lot 6. It's the one final lot that's vacant in the subdivision. People have been living in the subdivision since around 2009, I believe, was the first occupancy permit, if I'm not mistaken. Lot 6 has all of its approvals through the Conservation Commission for a stormwater permit, and the builder would like to begin construction on Lot 6, hopefully this spring. There was a list of outstanding issues that were to be done with the subdivision. They were relatively minor issues generally. There were inverts that had to be formed inside of some of the drainage basin or inside some of the drainage manholes. There were a couple of other smaller items. The developer has done those, and I'm going to submit proof that that work has been done to the board very soon. But there was one issue that was kind of outstanding that was a little bit bigger, and that is the detention basin that's on lot 1. When we did the as-built on it, the top of the berm around the detention basin, we found it to be low in a couple of areas, as much as maybe 6 inches low on the berm around the basin. Now, the basins existed since the road was built, again, early 2008, 2009, hasn't been an issue. The developer is going to bring in that 6 inches of additional loam and plant grass on it this spring. So I can certify that the work has been done and it will be at the proper elevation. My question is if that is done properly, will the board be able to release lot 6 at that point? Or is the board going to be looking for stabilization of that grass? I mean, if we go out and we plant grass and put the loam down next week, it's obviously not going to grow. So what is the timeline for a lot release if we did that? And I think you have a couple of options. One would be the developer could put down sod in its place.
Rolled sod.
Rolled sod in those locations. But even so, if we put rolled sod out, you know, next month, this is going to be happening pretty soon here. It's going to be rolled out, but it's not essentially established. Could we put up a cash amount, I guess, at that point to kind of cover anything that's outstanding with respect to the establishment of the grass? All of the other outstanding work that was identified by Weston and Sampson, they were the last peer reviewers to review the site. All of the other outstanding work, I believe, has been done. So it's really just establishment of this new grass area that's going to be loamed within the next several weeks.
Carolyn, your thoughts about, I mean, my thought was if, you know, you're gonna release somebody for something that's not done, there at least has to be some bond or cash security in lieu of that to make sure it gets done. But
Right, and as you know, Mr. Chairman, often when a covenant is part of the initial surety, sometimes that gets amended as time goes on and the project gets built out. I'm not familiar with the project or, you know, the reports of the punch list, so to speak, but I'll take it as represented that if there are just minor things remaining to be done, we could just come up with whether it's cash surety or some other type of performance guarantee to replace the covenant.
what's the board's thoughts about that? I mean, part of me is it's not our problem, but I understand what they're trying to do, so I don't want to necessarily be a hard ass about it where we don't have to be.
Well, I think we want to make sure that everything's done according to Weston and Sampson's final follow-up. And, you know, this project's been going on for 15 years. Sometimes at my recollection, it's been hard to get things done when they said they'd be done. On the other hand, you know, if there's some kind of guarantee or a bond, I think being flexible is sometimes okay.
And who would we have set a price for us? The estimate of what the work would cost.
It would be easier to have it done, right? Roll the sod down, get the grades changed as quickly as possible and come to us with a checked off punch list from Weston and Sampson, and presumably Weston and Sampson has to go back out and check it, or does Greg Morris certify that the work has been done and then maybe somebody checks it at some point?
If the sod doesn't take and it has to be replaced, we need a bond for, I would say, 150% of the cost to replace it. So how do we determine what that price is?
Typically, Mr. Chair, you'd go back to Weston and Sampson with respect to their punch list and any items on it and ask them to give a cost estimate so that you can have a grand total for the new.
Okay. Well, Greg, it sounds like what our plan will be is we'll contact Weston and Sampson, and if there's anything you can get to them to show them what you're doing, and you know
what's been done already,
that hasn't been done, then do that. But Cassandra, reach out to them tomorrow and tell them we want a price estimate on what would it cost if we had to come in and do what's left.
Sure.
And you're telling us that what the only possibility that will to do what's left is going to be to regrass or sod this area.
Yeah, I believe all other punch list items have been addressed or are being addressed right now. So
okay, well, Weston and Sampson's going to have to double check that. So I guess you need to let us know when you're ready to have them come out and look at it.
Yeah, I'll send a letter request in on when we're ready for you guys or for them to come out and look at it. It's just a matter of, you know, whether you can get the sign off without the grass really being established this time of year or not. So it sounds like you're potentially amenable for establishing a cash value for that. Yeah. And that's exactly what we were asking for. So thank you.
Okay. All right, just give them the heads up, Cassandra, that that's coming.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Yes, I'll reach out to Jim tomorrow.
All right, great. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
All right, for the rest of the board, anything else not reasonably anticipated? You want an update from the bylaw committee? The housing choice bylaw has been vetted through council. It has been sent to the state, which is offering communities like ours a pre-screening review. The bylaw committee also has developed a development impact bylaw based on a combination of Hanover and Dedham examples. That was voted Monday night to also go to town council for vetting. We're still working on some other things and meeting again next Monday, but we are making progress. So we will not be going forward with articles to amend wind and solar energy. Those will be in this fall, and nor the land alteration article. Any amendments to that, that'll also be in the fall. We have a consultant who's now on board who's going to help us deal with climate-related changes and specifically looking at amendments to the watershed protection overlay bylaw and the floodplain protection bylaw. Their target is the spring of 25. I would like the target to be the fall. We'll see where that plays out, but we do have consultant help on that one, which is a good thing. And I think
Can you name the consultant?
It's MAPC, isn't it? Cassandra?
Or is it through them?
No, it is MAPC directly.
The consultant is MAPC.
So, you know, things are moving along. The one issue, and I mentioned this at the bylaw committee, you know, Carolyn, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I know before New Year's, Judge had been talking that she was working on the parking article. I don't know if she did anything. If there is any work product, can we see it so I don't reinvent the wheel? But the other thing about parking is that Cassie Malatesta is doing some research to make sure our parking regs are up to the state of the art. We are going to have to add a parking requirement for the Housing Choice Overlay District. We are going on that one at 1.5 spaces per unit, which is what Hingham is also pursuing. But other than a select board member who has voiced concerns about the parking requirements in the village, I have not heard any strong sentiment by anyone about change that's needed for parking. So other than maybe some housekeeping changes and adding things we have to do to deal with housing choice and maybe some state-of-the-art updates, if there's anybody who's got anything to say about parking, I would love to hear from you sooner rather than later.
Well, like I mentioned the other night, we don't have a one-way drive aisle width.
Right, no, there's things that Clark brought up, but otherwise, the select board had put the parking bylaw as a priority of the things we should address in this town meeting, and yet I haven't heard a lot of specifics. So if anybody on this board has anything that concerns them about our parking requirements, now would be the time to speak.
Every parking spot I've seen, except for the ones at Bank of America, are too narrow.
Yeah.
Even though I have a Mazda Miata, which is probably the narrowest
Yeah.
of the market.
My major concern is that we are requiring the right number of spaces per the different types of commercial uses. That's been my major concern. Anyway, and so looking ahead, we are planning on the public hearings for the articles for our April 3rd meeting. We will probably need an April 10th meeting, because at the moment, there's potentially 6 on the table. Some of them have multiple moving parts, but they're the ones we are discussed the other night and voted to move into different stages of review are fairly easy to understand and grasp. But just to be safe, I think we should plan for 2 nights of hearings for that. That early April timeline just keeps us on track before the warrant has to be done, getting it all printed. And again, I think town meeting is still scheduled for the first week in June, I think. So we're moving right along. And I will share texts with you. I'll share the housing choice one with you now. You know, we'll see if the state has any tweaks to it. But I appreciate Carolyn. Who was the attorney? I forget your name. One of your associates.
My colleague Amy Questle has, she's part of a working group with EOHLC and Margaret Hurley at the Attorney General's office. So every 2 weeks, they have a standing call to go over what are other communities trying to do in their bylaws, what's passing muster, what's causing concern.
Yeah.
So that it's, we aren't repeating mistakes throughout the
Right.
Commonwealth. So, so I had her review it.
One comment I made back to her that I didn't hear before Monday night, before we sent it to the state, but I put it in a marginal comment for the state to, she had said that if we had put in accessory uses in this district, like a garage, for example.
Yes.
That we would trigger a 2/3 vote when the state legislation is requiring this by a simple majority.
Right.
And so I just want clarification for that, because I can certainly envision a new project on 3A down in Situate has a 3-story building, and then the garages are separate, and so they're accessory. And I don't want that to trigger a 2/3 vote, and it makes no sense that it would.
So I hear you on that, and we're having ongoing discussions in the office to share all of this information, because we were told with another community that was proposing to put in home occupations, multifamily housing. So they also wanted to put in a provision about home occupations. The first, I don't want to call it a ruling, but the first opinion we got from the Attorney General's office was adding a home occupation is outside the scope of the MBTA communities. So therefore that would subject it to a 2/3 vote. 2 weeks later, the Attorney General then backed off of that position. I think because she was getting rightfully a lot of pushback from us saying, whether it's a driveway, whether it's a swimming pool, whether it's, sheds or home occupations, there are going to be accessory uses with multifamily. So.
Well, we highlighted it to them, and we'll see what they say, but if it's taken out, it's taken out. It's not the end of the world. And as far as the uses went, we're only encouraging mixed use. We can't mandate it anyway, but we have very generic language about that. And I think everything else we said as a use would be as of right. So I hope they wouldn't think it would be a problem, but we'll see. But I appreciate that she looked at ours, and based on things I've seen, like what Newton shared with me, their ordinances that they passed in December were uber complicated and long, and I try to keep it simple, stupid approach. And I appreciate that Amy was able to just keep, endorse that kind of keep it simple approach, and that'll be an easier sell to the community as well. So, we'll see where we're going. And if everybody's been paying attention, Milton passed theirs at town meeting. They do have red line. They don't have commuter rail, but they do have red line in Milton. Bigger town. They got the zone for a lot more units than we do. Town meeting passed it. Opponents gathered to get signatures to call a special election. They defeated it at the special election. I don't know, 5,400 to 43 or 600, something like that. And the state, as promised, withheld some grants, and now has come down on them with a lawsuit. So they are not messing around. So that's we've talked about it in the bylaw committee. Just making this clear to people that it's not something we're going to want to mess around with too much. And the particular threat that would be most concerning to Cohasset, since we don't get a lot of grant money, is that they start withholding housing authority money, which they have threatened to do with other communities. That would hurt us. So anyway, so that's where we are, and so we'll plan for the first 2 weeks in April for those things. All right. Anything else?
How about a motion to adjourn?
Okay. Second.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Clark Brewer, aye.
And Callahan, aye.
Glassmeyer, aye.
Kevin Heine, aye.
Deirdre Hobson, aye.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming. Carolyn, thank you for your opinion on Charlie Higginson's property. And thank you all for being here. I'm sorry it's a little longer than usual, but got a lot done. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night,
Good
folks.
night, all.
All right,
All right, all.